Hi, everyone. I wanted to provide an overview of homework number 4 from chapter 7. This is the Slim Shady Taxpayer problem. So this is a client named Slim Shady who has written an email to you, who is the tax preparer, and we have to make sense of it and ultimately figure out, the adjusted gross income and then also the itemized deductions. And ultimately what we're trying to get down to is the taxable income amount. Now, what I wanted to provide for you, because I realize this problem can be a little intimidating just upon looking at it at first glance, but I liked it because it's sort of an example of what you might find if you were to start out an internship or a job. You'll get something that seems complicated, and the key is to kind of have the process to break it down, and then also have the confidence to ask questions and just understand that working through this is sometimes it's a matter of just sort of breaking the problem apart. Okay, so what I wanted to highlight was first of all, what I've done is I've provided a spreadsheet for you guys to use. It is not mandatory that you hand the spreadsheet in. This is simply for your own, a resource for you to complete the problem. And what I've done is I took the email and I broke it up into different chunks and I took each fact and kind of separated each fact into its own row here on the worksheet. So that's all in column A. And then in column B, I've provided some guidance around the rule. And this is really the teaching part. So this is kind of like what you guys are learning in terms of your itemized expenses, itemized deductions. And then I've also provided a guidance in column C as to which tab to go to see more detail to help you break down the logic for that particular fact. So the work here for you guys is that I want you to focus on is I want you to take your time reading through the facts and then just like kind of go to the piece of the spreadsheet or this workbook file that will help you make sense of the fact, okay? And some of this is going to be new, so you're going to have to take your time to kind of understand the rule and pick apart the rule. So let's look at an example. We have medical expenses that Slim Shady incurred, and he's telling us $20,000, but he was reimbursed for $11,000 of them. Okay, well, this requires us to understand in Schedule A, we have a medical reimbursement, itemized deduction. But the rule is that you are allowed to take as a deduction only the unreimbursed medical expenses that exceed 7.5% of AGI. Okay? Now, upon first telling you that, I don't expect you to make sense of it. You need to step through the math really to make sense of it. So what I would want you to do is note the rule here. By the way, this is all in your book, so also use your text as a resource. And then go to the medical expense deduction tab, which is this 4th tab in. And I have set up a little mini calculation for you guys. And this is what you could expect if you were working in an internship. You would be provided tools and worksheets that would be sort of a framework, a starting framework for you to understand how to work through something. And if you don't get it perfect the first time, that's totally fine. That's why you have unlimited attempts on the homework, is to kind of take like if you don't get the right answer, just try again, reach out to me with questions. This is what you'd have to do in a work environment. So what I did was for the medical expenses, I actually filled out I gave you the framework. So the rule here, and let's just walk through the rule as an example. I will expect you to do this on your end as well. And I want you to kind of just pay attention to the logic. So we are told that 7.5% of AGI, of adjusted gross income, is a threshold here. So let's first figure out what is 7.5% of AGI. And I'm giving you the answer that AGI is 172,900. Okay, that's in the problem, but I just want to make that clear so you guys don't even have to focus on AGI. I want you to focus specifically on itemized deductions. Okay, so times 0.075. Okay, and so we see that 7.5 of Slim Shady's adjusted gross income is $12,968. Okay. Well, what can Slim Shady deduct? Slim Shady can deduct of any unreimbursed medical expenses that exceed 7.5% of AGI. Okay, well, how much of his medical expense was unreimbursed? Okay, well, it may help, by the way, to unpack this fact even further. Total expenses, right, were $20,000, and then reimbursed were $11,000, which means $11,000, which means that his unreimbursed amount was only $9,000, right? So $20,000 minus $11,000 means that he was not. Now, what does reimbursed mean? It basically means that he had to, let's say, go to the hospital, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to do too much here at once. I'm reimbursed. Let's say that Slim Shady went to the hospital and paid $20,000 to go to the hospital. I'm using a super simple example just to illustrate the concept. His employer gave him $11,000 for that, or maybe his health insurance, basically through his employer, his health insurance reimbursed him $11,000, which means this $9,000 is out of pocket, and that is what he could potentially deduct on his tax return. But he can only deduct the portion of the $9,000 that is above 7.5% of his AGI. Okay, well, we can see here that $9,000 doesn't exceed $12,968, and therefore he cannot deduct this. Okay, I want you to do this on your end to understand the math. I just explained the rule to you, so you have the answer. It's less the answer here and more the process and the approach and learning some of these rules by doing the math yourself. Okay, I've got other tabs in the file related to taxes and interest. Other itemized deductions, I have some rules around that. So I'm going to ask you to kind of read through the itemized deductions that Slim Shady has, and I want you to see, do they qualify as other itemized deductions? And then everything rolls up into this computational tab. So feel free to kind of do all this on paper, but what I did want to do is provide you with the frameworks that you could try and solve the problem on your end. And take your time with it and reach out with questions, okay? I hope this is helpful, and I'll see you in class on Monday. Thank you.